Shine, shine, shine your light. Shine, shine, shine your light.
Hello, hello, hello. It's Nancy Maddox with Shine Your Light Radio Ministry in WYTV7 in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have a very special guest today. I'm so excited to be interviewing Dr. Andrew Jerome Butler from Columbia, South Carolina. He is an author, a pastor, a broadcaster of his own radio show, The Power of Your Destiny. Does a lot of other things that we're going to be real excited to hear about everything he's got to talk to us about today. And I'm so excited to have him. He's broadcasting from Columbia, and I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas. So if you don't mind, let's get started. Thank you so much, Dr. Butler, for joining us today. I appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule. Makes me really, really happy. So if it's okay, can we go ahead and start? Let's start with telling us about your ministry, Dr. Butler.
Well, we would love to. Nancy, I'm just so happy to be here with you. Thank you so much for this invitation. You and your audience. It's been such a blessing with the relationship that we've fostered over the last few months. But our ministry primarily is the power of your destiny, and God has really injected in me to help people understand their purpose and their destiny. That's been the onus of my ministry over the last, getting ready to be close to 30 years in ministry. And during that time, I've written 3 books. I've been a professor for 5 years. I've also have a PhD in counseling and family counseling, as well as I've ran a few businesses, insurance companies, and right now we're, as you said before, broadcaster. We've done television as well, and just a full plate. I keep saying that when everything is over, Nancy, I want to leave this world empty. I don't want to leave anything on the table that I can share with God's people.
Absolutely, Dr. Butler. I really feel the same way too. It's like I use the saying, I want to get all the goody out of the day.
Amen.
So I'm just going to continue to keep offering joy and helping people and doing what makes me happy. So, and I'm really trying to make everyone happy. So I appreciate that. What inspired you to become a writer?
Well, I truly feel God has a blessing in each one of us. And as a pastor over the years, I had close to 1,100 sermons over the course of 11 years, and along with my counseling. And one thing I found when talking with people, I always would have the same question. Well, Dr. Butler, this is part of your ministry. I don't know what my destiny is. And so I think God placed in me, because this was part and parcel of what I've been doing for years, to try to write a book or write several books to help people to kind of answer that question. When people ask about how to identify their destiny, how to come into that destiny place or that destiny imperative. So that was one thing that inspired me. I've had some people that say, well, God's written the Bible, and so that's all you need. And I always tell people, God used men to write the Bible, and as a writer myself, I really feel God used me to write these books and to help people. And in fact, when I'm doing counseling, no one leaves a session without, in my counseling, no one leaves a session without a book and a couple of chapters to read, things of that nature.
Wow, that's fantastic. I know I worked for a publishing company for a few years recently, and I brought in like 65 authors that were religious leaders and pastors to that publishing company. And as I spoke to them, I told them many times, you have so many sermons and so much knowledge that you've done. You really should publish a book of sermons or take your sermons and write many books, because people want to remember what you've done, but they can't, what you've said, but they can't really recall all of it because it's so much.
That's
And
right.
a lot of times I was dealing with them that had grandchildren. I'm like, your grandchildren don't have a legacy of you. They haven't
That's
heard all of
exactly
the
right.
lessons. And that's just one way to do that. So I'm really happy to hear you say that. Let's go through the titles of the book one by one and let
Sure.
you tell me about them. And I have a comment about managing the miracle that I want to
Okay.
talk about real quickly. But let's start with the first book. If you'll tell us what the title is and how you got there.
Well, the first book is, and like I said, the onus of my ministry, going close to 30 years has been people's destiny. And the first book God placed in me was The Power of Your Destiny, How to Harness the Centrifugal Forces of Life. At the same time this book came out, Rick Warren's book, A Purpose-Driven Church, came out. And I felt this was the answer that God placed in me, that this was the answer to people more so than a body or a corporate body. This was the answer to that, to his book, A Purpose-Driven Church, that this was the answer to people, that we should have, that there's power in our destiny when we finally understand that God has purposed each of us for a particular task. I always say, and my moniker is success is on purpose. And so once we understand our purpose and begin to fulfill that purpose, and we really begin to walk into our destiny. And so that book came out, dealing with destiny, and the byline, how to harness the centrifugal forces of life. Life is moving fast. There's 24 hours in a day, seconds, the whole gamut. So life is truly moving. And if you don't take the opportunity, if you don't slow down and grasp hold to what God has placed in you for your destiny, you will truly miss it. So we placed in the book 27 keys to your destiny, as well as one of my favorite chapters, and everyone that reads the book has come back to me, is the odds makers. We identify certain people. The premise behind that, Nancy, is everyone's making odds on you. Their first impression of you, they're making odds on you. When you get married, no one says it consciously, of course, and no one says it out loud, but unconsciously, people make odds on you. And it's identifying those people who have made odds on you. When you got married, as I was saying before, there may have been people in your wedding party that were going to be your greatest supporters. So they were making odds that your marriage would be successful. But there are also people that were sitting in the audience that, it probably won't last because of your personality or your husband's personality or whatever. So that's a great chapter, and counseling has been good to share with people, to identify people in their lives, because we have to keep in mind, just like Christ, everybody that was of the 12 came to Jesus for a different agenda. Thomas the Zealot, he wanted Jesus to come as David and just come with the sword and take over Israel, and Judas was there for a particular reason. Peter was there, Andrew. So every one of them had a different personality that they brought to Christ, but it was all about Christ. And so we use that chapter to help people identify certain people that are in your lives and how they their personalities can assist you, and how far people are willing to go with you when they stop going a certain distance.
Oh my goodness, that is really so true. I got married when I was 17 and my husband was 19.
Well, you'll understand that.
I graduated from high school and got married. And
Right.
so I've been married 45 years now.
Praise God.
And I can still remember my friends that came up to me and my family saying, you're just
too young
to get married. It's not going to last. It's not going to last. And
They
now I'm
made
here at 45 years and I'm going, God.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, so that makes good sense to me.
Yeah, and so that's what that chapter does. It kind of undergirds, and there are some people that will say these things that will not say these things, and so we share some nonverbals that people will use, some nonverbal language people will use, and identify them as certain odds makers, where they are in your process in life and where they are in your destiny. I was part of a singing group early in college, and my mother, she was considered a prolific odds maker. She was supportive of us only so far. And then we have the odds makers that are indefinite odds maker. My wife is an indefinite odds maker because whether I'm successful or not, she's in it with me. And so we identify those people. So there's 5 different odds makers, and we break those down, how to identify those people and how they think about you unconsciously, and even biblically, what God says about those people, and how to love them, and only go so far with them and know how they can help you in your destiny.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, what about the second book?
Oh, my second
Was it
book.
Transformation of the Mind?
Yes, Transformation of the Mind, the majestic power of your thoughts. Again, like I said, Nancy, being a counselor and really loving the human mind. I love this thing that God has made us. God said that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. But the premise behind that book is, you are what you think. The Word of God tells us to bring all of our thoughts into the captivity of Jesus, that let this mind in us be also in Christ Jesus. So every one of our thoughts, and it has a consequence. And we want to identify, in that book, we identify every consequence your thoughts have. One of the chapters that I use, and I love it, it's so beautiful, is that, you are center stage in the universe. And behind the scenes, it's just like a play. Behind the scenes, there are key grips, and there's the orchestra, there's all of these other things that are going on in the heavenlies behind the scenes for you. And you're in the spotlight of eternity. You're in the spotlight of God. So God has made you center of your own play. And based on how you think, based on how you react to certain things, will depend on your success or failure in this thing called life. And so we bring out several thought patterns in there. And again, I'm kind of a principle guy. We give people principles about how to think right about their marriage, how to think right about their relationships. And these are just suggestions. I'm saying how to think right, but these are just suggestions. And one of the chapters that I really love is What Was I Thinking? And it's about how to turn around some of the mistakes that we've made and how to look at the mistakes that we made. I truly believe this one thing, Nancy, being a Christian, as long as I have been, is that if God forgives us, I've got to find a way to forgive myself. And sometimes some of the failures that we have has less to do with what people have said about us, and it has more to do about how we think about ourselves. And so that book particularly deals with how to utilize your own thought process in matching with your destiny, how to identify your destiny, and how to think about your thought process and your thought life. You can't have a thought life you can't have a prayer life without thinking about it. So prayer is in there, meditation, all of these things are part of that. And I really feel it's one of my smallest books, but I feel it's one of the most power-packed books. And also, we had a friend that died who had Lou Gehrig's disease. A portion of that those proceeds go to the Lou Gehrig's disease in Georgia.
Okay, wow. Your books are deep now. You've put a lot of thought in those. So
I don't know about that. Like I said, I consider myself like Moses and Paul. I just let God do what he does best. using some old material. He's just using me to do his will. So that's we take no credit in it. We give it all to God.
Yes, sir. Okay, and your next book was called Managing the Miracle.
Yeah, managing the miracle. And I just want to show the book, Managing the Miracle, Living the Miraculous Life. I love this book. It's one of my favorite projects. We have 2 or 3 other projects we're working on, but it's one of my favorite projects that we put out in the last 20 or so years. Actually, we did a rewrite update of the odds makers. We had such an overwhelming outpouring of the odds makers. We actually had to update and bring some new material to that. So the first part of that book has the updated version of the odds makers. But also we go through keys on managing your marriage, how to You know, when God looks at us, Nancy, and you mentioned you and your husband have been married over 40-something years now, but I don't think people realize, you know, when God says that we're no longer two, we're one, that when he looks at us, he sees us as one spirit. The only struggle that people have or couples have is they struggle with the individuality of one another. The New Age way is to tell you that you are an individual. Well, I didn't get married to be an individual. I got married to become one with my wife. And so the Christian lifestyle takes us a little bit different than New Age thinking and some of the New Age thought process. We don't want to become two. We don't want to grow apart. We want to grow together. And the only way we can do that is by managing our love for one another. And one thing I put in in the book, my wife and I have been, even when we were dating, we dated for over a year before we got married. But we had 7 things we petition to God every single day. And one thing that we said, and it's been beautiful for us, is we have what we owe each other. And what we owe each other is love, a smile, and joy with one another. So that's what we say every single day. This is what you owe me every day. You owe me love, you owe me a smile, and you owe me joy every single day. And so that's worked for us. The other part of the book, Nancy, that birthed the book, I have a 6-year-old, and my wife and I were on our way to Haiti right before the great hurricane they had several years ago. And at the time, we didn't realize she was married. We were getting ready to get on the plane. And I have a stepson. I don't like that word stepson. He's my son. But just for the narrative, I want everyone to understand. We didn't understand. We had his passport, and I didn't understand that his dad needed to sign off for him to go out of the country on this mission trip to Haiti. And so we were in the Atlanta airport. I told my wife, I've already sent some other pastors over. I'm not going. I'm going to stay because I wanted him to experience, the whole Haiti experience, the whole mission experience. And for me to say I'm going to preach or going over there to do ministry without them, I was taking away from what I was trying to teach him. So we lost $3,200 from the trip. We all of our airplane fare and everything. But what we did not realize at that time was that my wife was pregnant with our daughter. And the last month or so, my wife had preeclampsia. And so it's a good possibility if we had have gotten on the plane that my daughter would not have survived, even though we didn't know my wife was pregnant. So God knows further than we do. And so when we talk about managing the miracle, living the miraculous life, what was birthed out of that was, God knows further than we do. It does not matter how much money we have invested. It doesn't matter how much time we have invested. His perfect will is going to be done. He meant for this little girl to be birthed. And Nancy, I pointed this out in the book as well. I'm going to share with you that I did a statistical study, and I don't know if a lot of people think about this, is that it's impossible, absolutely statistically impossible for you and I to be here. When we look at 5 generations, just 5 generations, your parents had to meet each other at the right time, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, the climate had to be correct, everything had to be correct for us to be here. You're statistically more possible to win the lottery, statistically, 27 times in your lifetime than to be born. And so, so you are a miracle. So when we did the statistical study and God brought this about my daughter, that's really what birthed managing the miracle, living a miraculous life, that God meant for us to be here. We statistically should not even be here. We should not be here. When you look at
that really brings it all together, Dr. Butler, because I was wondering where you were going with managing the miracle. That really does makes more sense to me now. Anyway, let me just say that we're broadcasting on WYTV7 in Charlotte, and I'm Nancy Maddox, and our special guest today is Dr. Andrew Jerome Butler from Columbia. And if you just came in on the interview, you're going to want to go back and listen to the whole thing. Dr. Butler is being delightful in sharing so much stuff with us. But I have one quote, Dr. Butler, from the Managing the Miracle that I kind of just want to read so people will start to understand a little bit better. It
Sure.
says, our greatest gift is the ability to express love and receive joy while meander from one disposition of grace to the place of mercy with one another. That really does wrap up everything and has every key word in it that I absolutely love and that I live my life by. We receive joy in the disposition of grace, place mercy on one another. It's just fantastic. And to me, that kind of sums up Managing the Miracle with the book that you have. Would that be a true statement? And can you elaborate on that just a moment?
100%, 100%, Nancy. You know, the dispensation of grace, as you just mentioned, that's the pinnacle of this whole life that we live as Christians. While we're going through, and like I said, you know, as our first book, we talked about how life is just moving at a fast pace. You know, love kind of slows things down. You mentioned before that you married early. When you fell in love, things kind of slowed down. And when you love Christ, when we love people, when his mercy and grace comes upon us, brings joy in your heart, brings joy on you. It becomes a blanket of joy that comes on you. And in fact, your whole life begins to slow down. And as you said, as I say, you know, we want to just empty ourselves out. Well, you couldn't do that if you didn't love somebody. You wouldn't even waste your time. You would be selfish. And in fact, I bring this up in several of the books, is that I use one word for love, and that's sacrifice. Whatever you're willing to sacrifice for, you're willing to love. And so that's kind of the wrap up in all of that particular phrase that you used.
My goodness, that's just fantastic. We're going to switch gears a little bit now because I also want to talk to you as a pastor and
Sure.
let you tell us a little bit about your church.
Okay,
And,
sure.
When you have your services, and just maybe some little encouraging words that you preach to your people.
Sure. We pastor Mount Pleasant Baptist Church in Johnston, South Carolina, and it's a little church out in and South Carolina is the biggest peach grower in the country. And I know we say Georgia is. I don't know how Georgia got that distinction, but South Carolina produces more peaches. But we're out in the middle of a peach field, and when you see the church, you wouldn't even think it belongs out there. But it's a beautiful church, beautiful congregation. And right now we're doing a series on knowing Jesus. I truly believe that there are people, loving, beautiful, sweet people that have been in the church for years and know of Christ, but don't really know Jesus Christ. And I use this as the example, Nancy, is that, you know, there's two dynamics of Christ, you know, for those theologians, the Christological Jesus, the historical Jesus. But Peter himself, you know, he sliced off Malchus' ear there in the garden, and Jesus had to heal Malchus' ear because he was defending Christ. He was defending the ideology of Christ. But when it came to knowing Jesus, a little girl made him deny Jesus 3 times. And so that's one of the dynamics we're working on right now. It's a 6-part series that we're doing on knowing Jesus and understanding who Jesus was, understanding why he gave his life, that he is the Son of God, he is God, he is the Holy Spirit, he is the triune. But then when you have relationship with him, not just the Christ, when you have relationship with Jesus, it brings you to a deeper level and a deeper understanding of who he is.
That just sounds wonderful. Wow, what a nice church and what a nice congregation. Do you have any other ministries that you're currently involved with? Can you talk to us a few minutes about that?
Oh, yeah, I sure can, Nancy, if we got time. Right now, we're working with the city of Johnston. There's less than 5,000 people in the city. And so we're going to be starting a GoFundMe page. God is placing on my heart to work with the city on getting a community center. We're working very closely with the mayor there in the city of Johnston. And right now we're in negotiations for one of the buildings. I can't say because we are in negotiations right now. And we want to come in and develop computer labs, gymnasium, after school program, some activities and things for the elderly, and really provide a safe haven for the community itself. So we've gone outside the four walls to develop a project that the whole community can work on, not just our church and not just myself, but the whole community can work on, that will impact the community and bless the next generation. And so that's one thing we're working on. In November, we're going to Haiti. Right after Hurricane Matthews, God placed on my heart to go to Haiti. So right now we're also raising money for a ministry in Haiti that needs a boat where they can go into the ocean, into the Gulf, and provide food for the local hamlet that's there in Haiti. So we have a few ministries there we're working. We've in the past have bought donkeys, and I was sharing with another friend of mine today. We bought a couple of donkeys a couple of years ago for a pastor to go up into the mountains. And I had called the pastor a couple of weeks ago, and he told me that someone had stolen one of the donkeys, and they found the donkey's remains. So please pray for Haiti, as evidently someone stole the donkey and consumed him for food. And so things are very desperate in that nation. We also work very closely with the AIDS in Africa. We've been there at Uganda a few times, and also India. And so we've done some international things, and as well as some things here in our own country. And right now we have a ministry, CLN, the Christian Lifestyle Network, and the Power of Destiny broadcast is part of that. That's our radio show, as well as our website and things of this nature. And ministry-wise, that's what we're doing. But the CLN Christian Lifestyle Network is right now, Nancy, kind of our business piece that we're raising money for some of the operational imperatives that we've discussed with.
Oh, well, thank you, Dr. Butler, for sharing that with us, because that's what I was going to ask you next. We only have a few minutes left. My show's only 30 minutes, but that's plenty enough to get a power-packed interview in. But anyway, the CLN network, that's like a shopping, that's where y'all provide products and services. But that all goes back to the ministry too, right?
Yes. Yeah. We, outside of what people give me as a love gift, I don't ask for any donations. We feel God says that He gives us wisdom to make funds and these things. So we don't ask for any donations, and that's no slap at any other ministry. But we do, of course, offer books, clothing. Other people may have some offerings. So if if someone has any products they want to host on our website or into the Christian community, if they have a Christian product and they don't know where to start, we take those kinds of products, and we do everything. We want to call ourselves a Christian Amazon, and it's clnshop.com. We do everything from books to furniture to music, clothing. We really want to be the Christian equivalent to the Amazons and eBays of this world, and I truly feel that God is leading us in that direction. So it's been moderately successful, but we want to make sure we have an opportunity. We're trying to build our catalog, so I hope I'm not taking liberties, but if anyone in your audience would like to reach out to us and they have a product or service they would like to host, we don't charge them anything to be a part of it, but there is a fee, because again, there is a business model that goes back into the ministry.
Okay, well, thank you for explaining that. I have looked at that. I have looked at that webpage, and there is a wide variety of things and on there that you can look at and purchase. I have looked at it, and I think that's very, very. It kind of ties back into the ministry, how you're letting people put their products on there, because there's a lot of people that have products that there's products and services that they sell, but they don't have a distribution center.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
you're
Right
offering
now, the world is doing it right now, Nancy. So we want to be the answer to the world for people that want to make sure that their money is not going outside of the kingdom. We want to be a safe place for their finances.
Well, I love that.
As we're being good stewards.
That's absolutely wonderful. I mean, I can think a lot of people these days are making jewelry and essential oils and things like that, and they don't have an outlet to put it. The outlets are too big. Amazon's too big, and no one would ever find them. They can't pay enough money to be at the top of the list.
That's right.
Inquires about it, but with yours, that would make a big difference. I think that would be awesome. So I thank you so much for sharing that with us. And once again, we're with WYTV7 in Charlotte. And I'm Nancy Maddox of Shine Your Light Ministry, and Dr. Andrew Jerome Butlers, our special guest today, and he has the power of your destiny. So it's been an absolutely wonderful interview, Dr. Butler. I thank you so much for sharing a little bit of time with us today, and I hope you'll come back again when we have more to talk about. And where can people find your books, sir, so we can let them know?
Yeah, they can find our books on our website. One is zionsbridge.com, ZIONSbridge.com. That's our main site. Itinerary is on there, links to the radio show, and also clnshop.com. And of course, our books are on Amazon as well. So you can find us on Amazon. But the best place to go to keep everything close to the kingdom is zionsbridge.com, as well as clnshop.com. And thank you once again, Nancy, for allowing us to come.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Butler. And that's all the questions that I had, but you have really fulfilled everything that I had hoped you would do on the interview. And I thank you and appreciate you so much again. Okay?
Thank you so much.
You
have a day of grace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shine, shine, shine your light. Shine, shine, shine your light. Shine, shine, shine your light. Shine, shine, shine your